Welcome back, my friends, to the Singularity. Let's get weird. I'm Danny. What are we talking about today? We're going to talk about what I call the game. What is it? Have you seen it? You might have. You might have heard of The Matrix, the movie. Have you seen it? It did come out in 99. Was this a documentary? Let's dive in. Remember, you have to remember this. Everything exists as energy. Everything in the universe is energy. How do they, meaning the people who run the game, execute? Okay? It's all on energy. So how do they use it? Well, your mind. Remember, your mind is a tool. Okay? Wherever your energy goes, where thoughts flow, energy goes. Remember that. Where thoughts flow, energy goes. You got it? So thoughts, where they flow, the energy goes. So this kind of, even already, we can kind of see how they can rig this against you. Okay? Because if you know how to direct the flow of thoughts into a certain specific place, then you can control how people think. And how is it done? Distractions. Your attention. Right? Distractions and attention. They will draw your attention someplace, kind of like a magician. You know, how do magicians work? Well, it's a sleight of hand. They're keeping your attention and they're distracting you at the same time. All right? Now, how do we do this? You got to remember, energy, the mind uses the energy and your mind as a tool that drives the thoughts. What they do is they use narratives. They create narratives. Okay? The narratives rely on what? A primal instinct. Okay? Primal instincts. We talked about you have the eternal experience, you have the ever-changing experience, which is how you see reality. Your mind is a tool that projects that reality and how you see it, how you experience it. The eternal experience, which is your divine spark within, this is where your thoughts arise from, where your energy arises from here. Okay? So if you're able to step in between, and remember, the ego is the story that you tell. The story that you tell people who you are, and the story that you tell yourself who you are. It is your identity, and it is very malleable. Okay? Now, if they can control your thoughts, negatively or positively, then they could control it through narratives and this primal instinct, which is fight. That's flight. We're getting there. Let's back up. Your fight or flight instinct. You ever watch deer out in the field? They're always looking around, popping their head up. Cats, they're always aware, super aware. It's because they don't have a conscious like we do. They can't think of the future. They don't think of the past. They live in the very present moment of the now. So they're very reactive. We're not separate from that. We are animals in this world. We have this fight or flight system built in. It's a primal instinct. It'll never go away. This is part of our nervous system, and it's called the sympathetic. Sympathetic. All right? This is your fight or flight. The other one is parasympathetic. This is whenever you're at rest. This is whenever you're at ease. So if they could harvest your energy and capture your fight or flight sympathetic nervous system, then guess what? This is a perfect recipe to use distractions and narratives and capture your attention and direct it in certain places. This is exactly what they do. Because guess what? The game requires your participation in it because it requires your energy. The moment you stop paying attention to it, the moment you stop giving your energy to it, the moment it starts to crumble away and you could see it, okay? You may not be able to see it right now because guess what? You're playing the game, right? The game is playing you, okay? What we want to try to do is recognize the game, become aware of the game, and then you can play the game. But until then, until you are aware of it's even happening, then guess what? You're just a participant in the game. And I'm going to show you how they use your mind to direct it in a certain way that keeps you playing it. And this is where we're going to start with narratives, okay? The narratives. How do they create narratives? Well, they create narratives on TV, movies, politics, the illusion of red versus blue. This is a huge one. You can see this everywhere, especially these days, especially over the last 10, 15 years. Now, this has really have come right out in the front of everything. It's everything. And until you step out of this, you're part of the game. The same with movies and TVs. The movies and TV. They'll do. This is what they'll do. They'll create a narrative around a certain topic, or they'll create something, and then they'll turn around. It might even be years later, and use that exact thing as the opposite, as what a red. So say they create something that the blue is doing, okay, out there. They'll create the equal and opposite thing so that the red will attack that thing. And then they'll create a narrative for the red. That way the blue can attack the red. And so this is how they keep your emotions tied in this very emotional movie that the screenplay, an emotional screenplay. Because remember, it's a game. The more they can tie your emotions and attach you to it, the more energy they'll drain out of you. And you have these figures that'll pop up, like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. You also have the same equal and opposite people on the left that'll come out and do their own reporting or whatever. But just know that they may be talking, they may be saying things that really resonate with you and are true, because they are true. Because the game allows you to know a certain amount of information, and this is called plausible deniability. deniability. So the whole point of the game is to have enough information laid bare to where if it looks like a how's that thing go? That saying, if it looks like a duck or walks like a duck, it's got to be a duck. They show you pretty much everything except for saying that it's true. They've got to put it out there. It's part of the game. It's to have it out in the open, but then also be able to deny its existence. So this is how they keep drawing you in. So yes, what they're saying is truthful because it is in true, but it's all it is a ploy to keep you invested, right? It keeps you invested and draws your energy, and your mind points your energy towards it and keeps it going. It's like a energy system. It puts out information, and then it's got to have energy come back in, or else it dies, right? Just think about this in nature. Like if you're not feeding yourself, then guess what? You're gonna die, right? You have to give yourself energy. Well, it's the same thing with the game. They have to feed off of some type of energy, and energy is you. Have you seen The Matrix, where the people are plugged in the back of their head? And the whole point of the Matrix is that they're feeding off of people's energy. Okay? And this is what generates the power for the actual Matrix. And it's pretty much the same thing that happens in real life here. All they're doing is directing your thoughts with distractions and your attention. It's a lot of manipulation, right? They manipulate the facts, and they coerce you into believing certain things. But then whenever you say people start to talk about these things, they'll label them a conspiracy theorist or something like that, and then they'll draw the energy in from the other side that's not being called a conspiracy theorist, and those other people will go, well, you're a conspiracy theorist, and then all this energy gets drawn into it, and guess what? Now you have plausible deniability on these things. So if you think about the whole game as one ecosystem, it's the whole thing is plausible deniability because they've drawn so much energy in from both sides that no one believes the other side no matter what, right? Step outside of your body for a minute and just see this from like a fifth person's point of view. Get rid of your judgments, get rid of your inclinations or what you've been told, get rid of your anything. I can't think of the word right now, but just your what you thought you knew about anything, and just step back without judgment and just look at the facts here. Look at it from a neutral position, and just you can see it in the movies. Recently, I haven't watched this, but the Stranger Things movie or show on Netflix recently had an episode where some people loved it and some people didn't like it. Well, what do they do? They inject a narrative into these shows. That way they can get a reaction, right? And whenever they get a reaction, that means they have your emotion, attachment. Okay? Whether it's anger, sadness, guilt, shame, grief, fear, anything that draws you in and keeps you there, and that's your energy. So, like I was saying, the Vecna character is a perfect representation of this whole system. So just think of Vecna. What does Vecna do? How does... Just think about the situation that actually just happened in this show. Stranger Things. The main antagonist uses someone's fear against them. And so the kid had to come out, and it wasn't that the kid was gay, it was his reluctance to talk about it in public or to tell his friends. And so the Vecna character was using this fear as a way of control. Now, can't you see that the game does exactly the same thing as this Vecna character? And it happens over and over and over again. You just don't notice it. This has been happening forever. Look at It. The clown, Pennywise. Pennywise was the same exact character as Vecna. Freddy Krueger, the same exact character. They're trying to tell you something, you know? Like, will you wake up from your dream? All of these characters are just manifestations of what's happening in real life, right? They're using your fight or flight instinct as an animal against you. And you don't know any better because it's your ego, right? Remember, we talked about the ego being an identification. The story you tell yourself and the story you tell other people. Well, if it's the only thing you knew, and you had these fears of, say, let's talk about Stranger Things. If you had a fear afterwards that your kid's going to be gay because they watched a kid come out being gay, then that's a fear within yourself. And so they're playing into that fear. And I'm not saying any of that's right or wrong. I'm just saying this is exactly how they use narratives to drive their agenda, right? Their agenda is to control your thoughts. And then, because controlling your thoughts is controlling your energy. It's the Matrix, my friends. I have a couple notes here, but you know, these people use this system because they're narcissists and psychopaths. And the reason why it works, we're going to talk about this for a second. The reason why they can get away with this, okay? And you're probably thinking, man, how do people get away with this type of thing? Well, it's because they're this. They're narcissists and they're psychopaths. What do these people have in common? They don't feel empathy. So guess what? It doesn't. They don't feel guilt after they do something, right? They don't go home and they sit and they think about it and they're laying on their pillow going, "Oh man, I shouldn't have did that. I shouldn't have done that." They just move on with life, right? They're using your shame and guilt and your consciousness against you because, yeah, most people do have a conscience, and they'll sit there and go, "Man, that was wrong. I shouldn't have did that." And that drives your energy in a negative way, right? So you won't do that because you have more integrity than that. But these people don't have no integrity, so it doesn't bother them. They can go to bed. They could just do it every day. They could steal your energy and not bother theirs, because guess what? At the end of the day, it's about them, right? That's their ego. That's how they drive their ego to get stronger and stronger. They live in this very material world. This is how we get caught in the material world. Remember, you have the divine spark self of you, the divine spark, you have the ego, and you have the material world. Okay? This is physical reality. These people are masters of this physical reality. Remember, this is your ever-changing experience. We grasp onto this with our life, but it's not the truth. But if they keep you in there and they keep you in fear, then they're just manipulating your ego to keep you here. Remember, we want to go this way. Step outside the box, my friends. Realize that all of this, the game, is just a game. They're playing it on you. You need to wake up and play the game. Play the game instead of the game playing you. So just think about that. Think about that real hard. If you can, just forget all that you've been told. Okay? Have an open mind. This is very much an open mind subject. You have to just sit back and go, man, maybe there's some truth here. Maybe I could find some truth. I could ask some questions. I could drop all of the preconceived notion that I had of the world and go into this and say, maybe things are the way they are because I am letting my emotions get attached. I am letting my fear being tapped into. I am letting my attachments get the best of me. Just think about that for a minute. Let me know what you think. Stay feeling thoughtful.